At IMPAQT, we like to align ourselves with search industry thought leaders who share our philosophies and our passion for this space. Hollis Thomases, founder and CEO of Web Ad.vantage.net, is one of these people. Hollis has identified some great tips to help advertisers target a large group of people with a lot of money to spend, baby boomers. Thanks for being here, Hollis.
Thanks, Richard.
Okay. All right, Hollis, we're going to talk about boomers and beyond, targeting the 50-plus audience online. So we made up some questions here for you. We know you have a lot of insight into this market. And the first one is, how active are baby boomers online?
Well, according to the Pew Institute, the category 50 to 64 aged individuals in the U.S., 72% of them are actively using the internet.
Jeez.
So it's a huge part of the population.
Okay.
82% of those are most interested in health and wellness categories, as you can imagine.
Right.
Because they're straddler generations, they're researching for themselves as well as their aging geriatric parents and possibly their children. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of interest in the health and wellness. But other things, as you can imagine, you know, second homes, retirement, financial investment transfers, you know, changing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So it's a very active group. But in addition, Jupiter research says that the baby boomer generation is the one that makes up the largest segment of what they've categorized as the supernet vet, meaning they've been on and active with the internet the longest, 5 years or more. That's the category that makes up the most usage. And you can imagine that because the internet has been widely adopted for at least 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. So people who are boomers now were in their mid-30s or 40s back then.
I wonder, I was thinking of the boomer thing. We knew we were going to do this, and how they search in the health categories. That we know in search that 100% of people are reaching page 1 when they come to it, and whatever 15% on page 2 and 5% on page 3. But is there anything published, or have you noticed in your studies that people in that boomer population, that they will go far deeper in their searches into more and more pages to get what they want that's health related or in the information that they're trying to find? Have you heard anything like that or read anything?
That's a great question. I don't know about statistically, mm-hmm. but anecdotally, I think that when somebody's looking for something so specific, especially if it's a chronic problem, mm-hmm. they will delve deeper. But that's where you also have the overlap of the web medical resource
right.
sites, that they're usually in the top of the rankings. They're providing this information, and they are a full-fledged business unto themselves because they're making their money from advertising revenue. So they're trying to capitalize on what are people seeking that they're not finding. Mm-hmm. I think they're doing a better job of satisfying that need.
Yeah, I thought they do so many searches in that category that was probably a high end, that they were going a lot deeper than we might have that we might think. Why is it currently so important for companies to identify a strategy for targeting these boomers? What's in it for them? Huh?
Frankly, a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's the largest population of disposable income because they are dealing with 3 generations of family, themselves and their children and their mm-hmm. parents. They have a lot of concerns. They're comfortable with particularly search. They know how to use a search engine. They're probably less comfortable with something that younger people are used to, like social media. Mm-hmm. So I think that search is going to continue to play an important role for them. Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to harness that kind of disposable income, even if it's not something that a toss away or a discretionary buy. These are people who need to buy things. These are people who need to make buying decisions. Mm-hmm. And so the traditional methods of reaching them are no longer as viable as they once were. People are first turning to the internet to do this kind of research. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have an internet presence, be that in search or on major websites through advertising, you're missing out on this big, huge population.
And I think that if you'd agree with this, that the old fear of charging things online and doing things is going by the wayside primarily. And I think a lot of that was driven by the older user, that they feared putting that credit card in there.
There's still an apprehension of using credit cards, but usually by the generation above the baby boomer generation, mm-hmm. so 65 plus.
Gotcha. So an older than the baby boomers.
Right. Besides
gotcha.
Which, there's a lot of alternatives now, that
right.
have come aboard that are not just, plugging your credit card
mm-hmm.
in. So the mm-hmm. retailers are learning to address that fear as well.
How about the impact of aging baby boomers on the on search marketers specifically? How do you think that will affect we in the search marketing business?
I think if anything, it's going to be that companies that didn't necessarily target baby boomers before that may now be targeting baby boomers are going to want visibility. And they're going to want a granular level of visibility. It's not going to be for as many broad keyword terms, but refined keyword terms. And they're going to need to be found if they want to capture their market share. So I think that search marketers need to think about what kinds of products or services are important to baby boomer as an audience and the retailers and companies marketing to baby boomers so that they can be prepared.
One of your recent ClickSee articles, and this was the question I just had to ask you because I feel like I have this kind of day. You mentioned that a Yahoo Audience Insights study said that boomers live a 49-hour day.
Right.
And can you tell us a little more about what that means and what that means for interactive marketers?
I think the best thing to do is to show you exactly
how
Yahoo broke it out.
Okay.
And how they define the boomer audience. In this case, it's a aged 45 to 54-year-old person.
Okay.
And they spend 4.4 hours with technology, which represents about 9% of their time, that being IM, cell phone, MP3 players, emailing, listening to music, etc. They spend 10.6 hours with media, which is all forms of media, internet, television, radio, print, etc. They spend 5.6 hours with family and friends. So they even break that down with family and friends. And then half of their time, or 27.9 hours, on essentials like sleeping, eating, commuting, working, doing errands.
Okay.
So when you tally all that up, it comes to 49 hours.
It feels like that. I
Right.
can see how that works.
Right. It's the epitome of multitasking.
Right.
Who said it was only women who could multitask?
Yeah, if the whole boomer generation leading the way
Right.
here with these longer days. Another question, how important is demographic profiling and persona building to the online marketer?
I think, if anything, it's how the boomer is depicted. And for marketers to remember that boomers are not the geriatric, silver-haired, wrinkled, buttoned up to the collar type of
Yes,
senior citizen. It's a different generation. That boomers think of themselves as active and youthful. They are an active part of the workforce. They are golfers and fishermen and hikers and rollerbladers. And so it's important to perceive them and present them in a way that shows them as active and youthful and not, an aging out senior citizen, because they aren't.
Okay, I like that answer. So a last question, how would we target these baby boomers online? What would your suggestions for that be?
Well, first of all, they're voracious readers, so content is important. They're not the MTV generation, so they're not necessarily going to scan things. You can capture and hold their attention, especially if they're looking for that information. They want to delve deeper. They're not necessarily wooed by special offers and attractions that they're skeptical about. They can see through the gimmick because they sort of have been there, done that. And while both sexes of boomers are online, women tend to make more broad decisions kind of across the spectrum of things, whereas men tend to be more narrowly focused.
Okay, all right. Well, Hollis, thank you very much, and we wish you the best with Web.vantage.net in the future here. I know you've been doing some very cool things and very successful things there in Maryland. We wish you the best, and thank you for joining us on SearchEngineOptimization.com.
Thank you, too, and thanks to IMPAQT.
All right, thanks.